some local reaction from members of our congressional delegation caught in the middle of the riot at the Capitol, forced out of the chamber amidst a threat of deadly violence. News 5's Collete Bordelon continues our team coverage.
The only team I didn't hear back from was Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, but everyone took to Twitter condemning the violence that happened today. A day which in years past is mainly ceremonial. For a country with United in its name.
I certainly haven't seen anything like this.
A stark reminder of just how divided the country is right now.
It's surreal, and to be honest with you, I'm still processing that experience.
Congressman Jason Crow, while trapped in the House chamber, tweeted, "This is the outcome of Trump's presidency," and shared this photo.
Police had their guns out and were prepared to defend us on the floor.
And the question, how did we get here, is a lot to answer.
If a substantial minority or a majority of Americans distrust the system, then it's not just distrusting elections, it's distrusting the entire constitutional order that we have.
Josh Dunn is a political science professor at UCCS and says people at the Capitol had been given false hope.
President Trump said things that I don't think anyone had ever conceived of before, which was that the vice president actually has some authority to negate an election.
Congressman Ken Buck tweeted out pictures from the chamber, calling this anarchy and un-American. He and Governor Polis released a statement as well, saying they respect the peaceful transition of power.
They should all be arrested and charged with insurrection, treason, whatever you want to call it. I mean, you're attacking the seat of the United States government.
Congresswoman Lauren Boebert also taking to Twitter. You'll notice on January 5th, she wrote, "These next 48 hours are some of the most important in American history." She's one of the people who plan to object to the Electoral College certification, but on Wednesday did call the violence inexcusable.
Violent protests tend to undermine support for the protesters.
And what happened Wednesday, he'll be teaching about for years to come. Professor Dunn reminded me that in the 60s and 70s, our country dealt with the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and John F. Kennedy. We saw riots more destructive than the one today, massive domestic terrorism, and what he calls the most serious constitutional crisis of the 20th century, Watergate. So while we are all concerned about the state of our country after a day like today, it's important to remember we have a long history of overcoming deep division that can maybe give you a little bit of hope. Always watching out for you, Colorado Springs. Collete Bordelon, News 5.